Alex here with a video on legal nuts and bolts. So in this video I'm going to cover continuances, extensions, and shortening time. Because these issues are extremely specific to your locality, I'm not going to give any technical information on them because at the very least each county will usually have its own rules that cover how these work, but sometimes it goes down to the courthouse. So I'm just going to give the definitions as to what they are, and I'm going to get through them pretty quickly. Hopefully that the information is helpful, and if you need to find anything specific out regarding any of these three instruments, look into your own court rules. It's probably not going to be in the statutes, but it might be. Usually it's something that's in the court rules, and hopefully that gives you some kind of guidance. But at the very least, you should know what's going on when you see one of these papers or pleadings, or you hear one of these terms tossed around in court. So, continuances. When these happen, your hearing date is being moved or somebody's trying to move the hearing date. So, for example, if your opponent's attorney files a motion to continue, they're trying to move your hearing date. If the judge enters an order granting continuance or an order continuing hearing, something along those lines, your hearing has been moved. It's really frustrating when this happens. I wish I could really tell people how much I understand, because one time I needed to get primary physical custody and I had to wait 9 months because I had 2 continuances and my son needed 5 crowns, 2 extractions, and the delay of 9 months actually caused him to suffer damage to his permanent teeth. This is the kind of stuff that happens in child custody cases. In my case, it was particularly unusual because the second continuance only was entered because my family judge recused himself and I needed a new judge, and the new judge had to calendar me. If you go crazy trying to fix this issue, filing all kinds of papers and pleadings, there's almost nothing the court can do. You know, when you need an evidentiary hearing, I mean, there's almost nothing the court can do before then, because it needs to know what's going on, and so it really sucks when it happens, but try to get through it. You know, try to get through the continuances and the delays when they happen. If you can resist it in your local rules, then go ahead and try. Like, some of the rules will require somebody to file like an affidavit and explain why they need a continuance. Some lawyers get sloppy or lazy and they won't attach it. So then there's something that you can do. You can fight it. Say, hey, he hasn't filed an affidavit. He's not complying with the procedural requirements of the rule. You know, we need to know why this lawyer is trying to move this date. I mean, it has to be for something real, you know, a real reason. So again, I can't give you specifics because I'm not in your area, but I do know that in Nevada, you know, every single judicial court and even every single justice court has its own little tiny details as to how continuances are handled. Enlarging time. It basically is extending a deadline. In Nevada, they're almost always granted motions to enlarge time. So I usually would just let my ex's attorney have, you know, extra time. You know, if the rules were different, I might have said no, but my understanding was that the motion would probably be granted anyway. I know a lot of people, you hate your ex, and so you want to make their life as hard as possible, deny everything, force them to file all the papers they have to, and then they get charged more attorney's fees because they have to file more things. I didn't do that, and I stood out. I looked different, and the judge noticed. The attorney even gave me props. I mentioned this 2 or 3 videos ago, that she'd never seen somebody just say, yeah, sure, take some extra time. Again, I'm going to go back to the beginning of what I said. If the rules were different, I might have said no, but I read the rules and I saw she was probably going to get that motion granted, and so that sort of guided my decision to say, go ahead and take, you know, extra 5 days, whatever. That's enlarging time. So, like, for example, if they need extra time on their motion, or they need extra time maybe on, like, filing their answer and counterclaim or whatever, you can try to resist it, but the motion's probably going to get granted, at least if it's in Nevada. So, I mean, I don't know. That's just my advice. Shortening time is the opposite. Motion's shortening time basically says that you're asking the judge to order your ex to answer your motion much more quickly than they normally would have to. And these have to be done ex parte. My understanding is because if the motion for order shortening time is not done ex parte, then the time limit on the original motion is going to lapse before the one on the motion for order shortening time is. So my understanding is that these are done ex parte so that the court can just look at it within a day or two right away, enter an order, and your ex now has to, or you, if it's done against you, now you have to answer a motion much more quickly than you normally would have had to do. That's how a motion for order shortening time is used. So I think I covered it all. Continuances, enlarging time, shortening time. they get used all over the place. I mean, I've even used some of them before. All I can really say is just try to try to stay within the boundaries of the time limit, so you don't have to do any of this extra work and get all these extra things taken care of. That's the last thing you need when you're representing yourself. Lawyers are going to try to use these. Sometimes I never really felt like lawyers were using them to stall. In my case, it really did seem sincere. The lawyer was like crazy busy. The second lawyer that my ex had didn't file a single one of these, so I think it's just kind of, if you think your ex's lawyer is just trying to stall, I'm not sure. I've never seen that before. I guess it's possible some of them might try that, especially maybe in the bigger cases, like the giant, like personal injury cases, that kind of type. That kind of stuff can get really complicated. Or maybe sometimes even in an appeal. In fact, just one last thing before I go, the Supreme Court even allows the clerk to give extensions. I've never seen that before. The lawyer can just call the clerk of the Supreme Court, and they'll give them something known as a telephonic extension. They don't even need any proof for that. It's just I think it's like a 3 or 4 day extra little bit of a bump in their deadline. And those are just given, like I said, over the phone. So with that, I'll go ahead and end this video. If you have any questions, this is a really good topic for people to ask me specifics about. Put it down in the comments below. I can probably help a lot more with these, especially if you're in Nevada. With that, I'll go ahead and end this video.